Hey guys, another episode of the Continuous Flow Roll. This time I've got a training partner and friend, Andi Keil.
Yep.
He's a brown belt under Matt Jones at IsoHealth and a training partner of myself. So, welcome. Also sponsored athlete for the brand. Been on since pretty close to day one, I reckon.
Pretty close to day dot, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah.
So. It's been a while.
He's got a very thick Scottish accent, so we might have to put some subtitles in. But
It's a little bit dumbed down now.
No, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
I remember when you first came to the gym, it was like fucking thick.
It was
bro.
pretty full on,
It was pretty thick.
Like,
Yeah. So when did you first come? Well, when did you first come to ISO first and foremost? So
ISO.
we met probably.
It's close to 10 years ago, is it? Like,
Pretty close, bro. I've been
9-10 years.
Yeah, about that, I reckon.
Yeah.
I've only been there for 8 and a bit, so it must be around 8.
Yeah,
Must have
around
been
8
there
years.
around pretty much the same time, I think.
Yeah.
And before that,
I was ICMA on Grange Road. It's
Yeah.
no longer there now. It was
Yeah,
more
yeah.
of a stick fighting gym.
Yep.
Where I learned boxing. So before that, I was when I first got to Australia, which would have been 2010. I was like, everyone's fit here. I'm like, wow, I need to actually get fit. And I think at the time as well, I weighed like 69 kilos. So I was a rake.
That's so bizarre to me. Like there was a time where Andy wasn't fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I've always known you as like either lean or jacked.
Yeah.
Super active. Rock climbing. You were at that gym that had lots of the calisthenic stuff going on. Jiu-jitsu. You boxed and ran marathons, bro. So
Done
for
a
me,
lot of stuff.
it's always been fit Andy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, not always.
Yeah.
But then I noticed everyone was fit, so
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get fit. So I think I started running first.
Yeah.
And then I was like doing half marathons. I eventually did a full marathon in Chicago.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was insane. But then after that, I was like, running is not my jam. I was getting thinner and thinner, and I don't know, I felt like when I looked in the mirror, I was kind of frail.
Okay.
And I'm like, I've always wanted to learn martial arts. Like, I got into a few fights in Scotland when I was younger, and I'd say probably a majority of them I lost. And I think a lot of it was also because I didn't have any tenacity.
Yeah.
I always felt bad, like when I was in a fight, that even though I should be protecting myself, I don't want to hurt the other person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like, yeah, okay, I need to kind of learn a little bit of tenacity, and I need to learn how to protect myself. I always felt bad when I got beat up. I was like, oh, you should have done better. Like, why did you allow that to happen? Like, it's embarrassing, and it always stuck with me. I think when you lose a fight as well, it can always stick with you.
It's very primal.
Yeah, it is. You know, it can hurt your ego quite a bit. So yeah, I found, instead of doing the running, I was like, I need something else. So I started boxing at the ICMA. And I remember, I think my first boxing class was my first or second. I actually got my ribs broken.
Baptism of fire. Bro.
Yeah, baptism of fire. You know, the coach, he'd kind of take you in the ring, and you know, I think it was good. It was old school kind of vibes, like see how tough you were, and yeah, I ended up breaking my ribs, but I came back. And I was like, I really want to learn after they'd healed. I was like, I really want to learn how to box. I think this is a good place. I need to kind of get hit a little bit to learn. So yeah, I did that for a while. Did a couple inter-club fights. I'm like, yeah, the boxing's cool. And then the gym started doing jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, never heard of this jiu-jitsu stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started doing that and kind of fell in love with that.
Yeah.
A little bit more than the boxing. I was like, if I'm boxing, I feel like me being like 69 kilos, when I was sparring with the heavier dudes, I'm like, when they hit me, it hurts. I'm like, I could probably get more shots on them. Like, I'd be peppering them with my jab because I've got long arms.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I get 5 shots on them, they get 1 shot on me, I'm feeling it. They don't look like they're feeling it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they don't look like they're playing for points either. Like,
No, bro, they're stopping you.
yeah, they're stopping me. You know, you'd hit them and just, I feel like that probably hurt my hands more than it hurt them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need another skill. Like, what's going to happen, even for self-defense? If I'm out in the street and somebody bigger, like bodybuilder, whatever, it's like, you're going to look at it and you're like, how am I going to protect myself? Also, my friends around me or anyone else that needs protecting. And boxing as well. You know, what happens if we hit the curb? You know, you punch someone, one punch can end someone's life.
That's huge over here.
It's massive, isn't it?
Was it? So obviously you're from Scotland, but is that is like the coward punch a thing in Scotland? And if so, like, is it something that people are like it's stigmatized? Like here in Australia, if you do that to someone, everyone kind of looks at you like you're a bit of a fuckwit.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Quite rightly.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, because because you definitely can kill someone. Danny
Yeah.
Green, the boxer, the Australian boxer, he's got a whole campaign on the coward punch and getting rid of it.
Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned you got into some fights in Scotland.
Yeah.
Is the violence different from Australia to Scotland?
I'd say in Scotland there's a huge knife culture,
That's scary, man.
which is quite scary.
It's horrifying.
And I mean, not only that, the area I came from, I know it's a lot worse now, but when I was there,
Yeah, where did you come from? Let's go a little bit into like your origin story.
yeah, so Inverness, home of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yep.
So
Okay.
hide and seek champion of the world. Like he's still not found to this day.
Can't beat him.
Yeah, he's pretty good. It's a beautiful loch, by the way. You ever get the chance, go see Scotland. We have the most absolutely stunning scenery,
Yeah.
but the worst weather, and just the way things are set up. I don't know. It is quite tricky.
So until you actually told me, for people watching, a loch is a lake.
A loch is a lake. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I didn't realise that till we did that. I did some painting with Andy
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and you were talking about it, and I didn't know that lochs were lakes.
Yeah.
So now Loch Ness, Lake Ness,
Yeah.
makes sense. So it makes so much more sense.
And it's got to be loch.
loch.
Yeah. So you got to at the end of every sentence.
But yeah. So Inverness.
Inverness.
Yep.
Yep. Which I just recently noticed. So my city, Inverness, of all the Scottish cities, is the one with the highest alcoholism rate.
Wow.
So 70% of people in Inverness are alcoholics compared to the recent survey they did. So it beat Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen.
That's wild.
Like, it's pretty wild.
70%.
70%.
So 7 in 10.
7 in 10 are like
Alcoholics.
alcoholics. Which it was pretty full on.
That's wild,
I
man.
mean, me personally, when I was there, like I was I wasn't in a bit of a good spot. I would drink a lot. In with a bit of a bad crowd, hence why I was getting into fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Just doing stupid stuff as a kid.
We're all young, we'll do.
Yeah, we're all young, you
Yeah.
know, but we don't have the sunshine and stuff like what you guys have here.
It's a good point. The vibe is
Yeah, the
completely
vibe's completely different. You know, I would finish work. Sometimes I'd go to work in the dark. I'd start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd finish at 6 at night, like training as a painter. Go to work in the dark, come home in the dark.
Mental health, that's not
Yeah,
good.
your mental health. You know, it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, I can't go out. It's freezing cold. You don't want to go out for a run or a cycle. You spend 10, 15 minutes putting warm clothes on. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a whole
just
process.
It's a whole process. You know, it's very different. Whereas here, it's like I wear shorts and singlet most of the time, even in the winter.
Bro, I've seen you when we were painting again. You're in shorts and singlet.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm like dying
All the
like, I don't
time,
need shit,
just
yeah.
resistance to the cold. I think part of that as well. When I first got in the country, had a car that had no aircon, and I'm like just spraying myself with a water bottle. And Scottish are known to be stubborn,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, just deal with it.
Yeah.
Just deal with it. Even now, I have a car that has aircon. I never use it. I'm just like I learned
Principle.
to deal with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, the principle of just that stubbornness. Like I have always been stubborn. But yeah, I mean, when I was doing the boxing, I was learning a lot. It was good, you know. I felt like I could kind of defend myself. But then the jiu-jitsu side of it, I was like, wow, this is really different, you know. You can have a fight and not hurt someone. You have a way to like kind of immobilize people.
Sure.
So I mean, that was pretty cool. I got my blue belt from that gym.
Yep.
And then I wanted to compete, and the gym probably wasn't really keen on people competing.
Yeah.
So I think I did my first competition. It was a Synergy Pro event here in Adelaide, and I got my arm broken. So I got arm bars and my arm broken.
You broke your arm.
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
Yeah, so in my first comp, it was actually one of the guys from ISO Health. It was Harry Caldo, I think his name was.
Fucking Harry.
Yeah.
Geometric triangle Harry.
Yeah, look. I mean, he nailed me with a
he's
great
so good.
technique. He was so good.
He's guard, like he's a freakish guard.
Yeah. But when he had my arm, I just didn't tap right enough, early enough. I was like, oh, see what happens. The next minute, crack.
So it was a bad one?
It wasn't too bad. It healed up pretty well. It was pretty painful. But after that, I was like, I'm going to check out this gym. Like, I want to actually check out this gym. This dude that's broken my arm. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm like, I need to go
teach me how.
check this out. So yeah, then I went to ISO Health, and I noticed obviously the level at ISO Health was a lot higher than the level that I was currently at. Yeah, I mean, I came there as a blue belt, and of course, ISO Health has the advanced classes, which are blue belt and above. So I think like one of the techniques we used to learn at my other gym was when you're in close guard with your legs around them, you squeeze their ribs really tight, you know? So it's like more of a pain compliance kind of thing. And I was like doing that in the class, and I mind the coach, Matt's like, yeah, we don't really do that here. And I'm like, yeah, I can see why it's like, it's not really working. So then, yeah, I was like, there's a blue belt. They had all coloured belts above that. And I was getting smashed, like absolutely getting smashed. But same again, for some reason, I was loving it. I'm like, this is great.
It's a challenge again.
It is a challenge, you know, and I've never been one to shy away from a challenge.
Yeah, if you're someone who's predisposed to enjoying challenges.
Yeah, definitely.
That's going to be way more fun for you than going out there and winning all the time.
Yeah. And I think also, I suppose, coming here by myself, so I migrated here by myself in 2010, just like searching for a new life, try to get away from all the alcohol, all the rest of the troubles.
People are going to hear this, you try to get away from alcohol and you end up in Australia.
Yeah, I know. I think the Australians like their drinking as well.
But the sentiment remains, you're looking for a change and a scenic change and a vibe change and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Just trying to be healthier as well. And I just like, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, you don't know if the grass is greener on the other side. I'm like, well, how do you know if you try? And I think that's the mentality. I mean, not to bag on my Scottish counterparts. I think the mentality is they kind of they just deal with what they've been dealt and they don't really go any further.
Well, it's interesting. Like, countries have their own problems. Like in Australia, we've got this, you've heard it, that tall poppy syndrome, where like the second someone's doing well, people want to just pull them down, shit on them and stuff like that. So where like in Scotland might be more conservative, it's like, well, this is what you were given, you fucking, you work that. Here, it's not like that, but when you get to those upper regions, you've got this other problem where your owner trying to drag you back down type of thing and have problems and stuff like that. So it's interesting the archetypes of the different places and like their natural like pros and cons and stuff like that, because you said Scottish, very stubborn, right?
Yes.
Which kind of leans into, no, I'm going to make what I've been given work.
Yeah.
Almost not because I wanted, but to spite the hand that I was dealt. You know what I mean? Like, I'll show you, like, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah, so it's super interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, I didn't feel like I belonged there. Like, personally, I had problems as a kid as well, like with ADHD and stuff.
Yeah.
I was on Ritalin when I was younger.
And even back then, the way people would have approached that, completely different.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, here's this naughty kid, you know,
bad.
Can't focus. You know, I was never bad. I would get into trouble, but it was just stupid stuff. But I could never just focus. Yeah. Like, I actually when I went to school, my mum would give me £2 a day, and I would like buy a ham sandwich for £1.70, and I would go hungry for the rest of the day. And I would actually go to the shops and I would steal out of the shops. And I would also steal out the canteen. So we'd have a line through the canteen. I'd see people buying these beautiful burgers. And I'm like, I only had £2 and I bought breakfast with it. I'm like, so I would get the burgers. I would eat them before I got to the end of the queue. And then I would like get like a 10p mixture, which was like sweets that you get for like 10p. I'd go to the shops in the afternoon. I'd be like stealing from the shops. Like it was, it wasn't the best, but it was like, I had a fast metabolism. And I didn't know it. And like with ADHD as well, like your brain's operating fast, like it's constantly like silence is deafening to me. Like there's all these thoughts all the time, and the metabolism as well, because you're constantly like moving. Like you kind of like your blood sugar levels drop a lot. So that was also stopping me concentrating. Whereas when I got here, I tried to figure out why what I can do with this ADHD and how I can treat it a bit better. Got into like the dietary side of things. So for me personally, when I was like 69 kilos as well, I was just burning through calories. I was still painting as well. I need to eat. Like I need to actually fuel. So I need to eat, and it needs to be decent food as well. So I started like eating a lot more regularly, understanding nutrition and protein. And then I was like, okay, now I need to figure out how to put on weight. And it's like, so started researching that. I'm sitting 90 kilos now. I think you've seen me. We used to compete together.
Like I said, I'm trying to think of myself like, when was Andy 69 kilos?
Yeah, I know,
you know what I mean? Because we've had conversations at the gym plenty about My issues with trying to put on weight, and you're just like, you got to eat, brother.
Yeah.
You drink some milk, like whatever.
Eating's your job. It's got to be
So
a job.
Again, the idea that like you were 68 kilos and potentially unfit
Yeah.
at some point is like, it's a bit of a trip because I've only ever kind of seen you in good shape
Yeah.
and not 68 kilos.
Yeah.
You've pretty much just, your weight's gone up.
Yeah.
Since I've known you.
Well, I think that's the other thing with the ADHD as well. ADHD, like one of the best ways I could probably describe it is a hypersensitivity to boredom. Would be one thing as well. So when we're doing something that we're not interested in, it's very, very hard for us to focus and like actually do the thing we're told to. Whereas when we find something that we are interested in, like I did with jiu-jitsu and nutrition, you tend to go all in, laser focused, like just everything's all in, just kind of absorbing it like a sponge. So that's what I did with nutrition as well. I'm like, I really want to put weight on. I need to understand how I do this. And I really want to get good at jiu-jitsu, you know? I really want to, like, I value getting good quite quick. Especially being, like, that blue belt just in the deep end with all the other belts getting smashed. I'm like, I need to be able to hold my own. So yeah, I think I started competing, and I started slowly competing in different divisions. I started putting weight on. I was using
big competitions too. You had matches against Jeremy Skinner. I remember.
Yeah, that was cool.
Cornering you against Jeremy Skinner, like this. You did some cool shit, bro. Like,
yeah.
I
think that was the time when I still didn't have it dialed in. I was just like cartwheel passing and
for sure, but
flying submissions.
Your game's evolved quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Over the last year and a half, 2 years kind of thing. You still have those elements for sure.
Those elements are still there.
We'll get into all that stuff, but you've definitely, I wouldn't say even smoothed out, because smoothed out implies that it was spazzy. It wasn't spazzy at all. You were just wild, bro.
Yeah.
Very live by the fire, dive by the fire.
A lot of energy to burn.
And it seems like, I don't know, personally, I think that the way you're grappling now is way, way better.
Yeah,
because
I
you've
agree.
got that, you kind of electively choose between Jekyll and Hyde now, as opposed for the choice being made for you.
Yeah.
Like, you pick and choose when it's time for the flashy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's blended in nicely with good fundamentals and good choices and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say, I don't know if that's come through managing the ADD stuff or ADHD stuff, but there's definitely a shift in the way you grappled and the movement and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's like almost therapeutic from jiu-jitsu, or if it's a conscious decision that was made, or it just took time.
I think it's a multitude of things.
Yeah.
Like, I think when I first started, I needed a person, like obviously our coach, Matt Jones, like he's quite black and white, which I needed. Like I need that, you know, I need someone to say, this is wrong, like you can't do that kind of thing, and this is how you do that. And like that kind of stuck with me. I think when I came to the gym, I was that kind of hyperactive still. My outside life was quite chaotic as well. I was going through a whole visa process.
You told me about that. It's fucking...
Yeah, that was insane. Like it cost me near $40,000 to stay here, and it was like I was going through the visa process for 7 years. So it's like I've moved to this country, everything's going great. I didn't even know how long I was going to be here for. I had a visa for a year.
So yeah, what was the plan when you originally came? It was just a year, see what happens?
Yeah, just come out, see Australia. So on a working holiday visa, you know, that's generally a year. I came out with the minimum amount of money I needed, which was like 2,500 Australian dollars. And it's like,
it's scary, bro.
Let's see where you go, you know? But I was like, yeah, let's just give it a chance.
Yeah.
But when I came out here, the first thing I did, you know, I was like trying to get jobs. I was trying to work. I've always been a worker. Like I'm no stranger to hard work. But yeah, I mean, so I'm in Australia, I'm in Adelaide, and I phoned up a painting company, and they're like, yeah, you can start tomorrow, no worries. All I had was a bicycle. And they're like, I like saying that to them, they're like, oh, can you get some tools? I'm like, yeah, I'll buy some painting gear. So I bought some brushes, couple rollers, backpack, and I've got a bicycle and a UBD. I don't know if you remember the UBDs, where if you want to find maps, you're reading this big book.
Okay, right.
So I'm like, I was at the time in Adelaide, I'm like staying at the western suburbs, and then they're getting me to go to jobs in like the eastern suburbs. And like the jobs, they're probably like a half-hour drive, But on a bike, it's taking me like
And you don't know the way around.
I don't know the way around. So I'm like riding this bicycle with these tools in my backpack, and I'm like looking at this UBD, trying to figure out where I am. I mean, luckily Adelaide's a bit like a grid, but
Very simple.
yeah, it is quite simple. Which I'm like, it managed to click, but man, it was hard going. But I mean, that's what I had to do to like try and save the money to eventually get a car. So I was learning to get around the place cycling to all these jobs. And then eventually I bought myself a car, like, and it's like, okay, I can start learning the city.
Something
And
easier.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that starting process was tricky. And even just employers as well with the visa stuff, like...
Yeah, you've obviously you've told me about this stuff. You don't have to go
Yeah.
into any of the stuff, but
Yeah,
you
it's
got
pretty
jacked,
full on.
bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
For 7 years, like, no
And I-
security in the country.
I wonder how many people like you that happens to.
Yeah, and I think
Because
jiu-jitsu...
You're so held by the balls, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they've got you, and it's like, well, you do what I want, or you're not getting what you need,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not
Well,
fair.
that was
bro.
hard,
Like,
man. I mean, I mind getting an email once saying, I've been here for 5-6 years, and they're like, you have 28 days to find a new sponsor, because it didn't work with the current boss. You've got 28 days to find a new sponsor, or you need to leave the country. And it's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I've got pets, like I had a partner at the time. I'm like, man, I've
It's
been
wild.
here 5-6 years, and you're telling me that if I don't find a sponsor in 28 days, I need to leave the country. So all the emotions that came with that, like, I am super lucky I had jiu-jitsu, man, because jiu-jitsu was keeping me sane. Like, for me personally, jiu-jitsu is a way to regulate my emotions.
well, that's kind of what I was getting into. Is like, do you think it was easier to slow down some of the jiu-jitsu stuff because it's almost therapy? Like,
Yeah, I would say so.
As a-
Jiu-jitsu is therapy
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I think I needed something to focus, like, all this, again, with ADHD, like, excess energy that I feel I have. Need something that can challenge it to focus it into. The running wasn't doing it. I'd go out running and, like, my mind would still be too loud. Like, I'd be going through the visa stuff. I get, like, emails that were, like, kind of like, yeah, you've got 28 days.
That's
And it's
full
like,
on, bro.
yeah, trying to get that out your head. Whereas I go to jiu-jitsu, like, I'm going to jiu-jitsu angry sometimes, I'm going upset, I'm emotional. It's like, you go there, you train, you learn something, like, you're surrounded by great people, and it's like, I feel so much better. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, I feel like I've really just kind of gotten all that anger out, not by rolling angry,
No,
but by using it constructively.
expelling that energy.
Yeah,
and just
and just,
being mindful, like having to not think about this shit for an hour and a half.
yeah,
You just might
that's
need
what
that
it
hour
did.
and a half
Just
to
that hour and a half, man.
of just respite from the
Yeah.
bullshit can get you through the day, and then
Yeah.
the next one, and then yeah, man, that sounded full on. So you ended up. So for people watching, they can't kick you out of the country now.
Can't kick me out of the
You're
country
good.
now, so I ended up sponsoring myself.
How does that work?
Oh man! So the visa company.
And could you have done that from the start?
I could have done, but they never told me, man, and I didn't know. They kept telling me, go with this sponsor, with this company, go with that company, go with your partner. But because I'm a fully qualified painter decorator, they never told me I could sponsor myself. The only caveat to that is I had to stay in Adelaide for 2 years. Because Adelaide's classed as regional, it's like we're looking
that shit,
for the
yeah.
trades and stuff. So yeah, you can sponsor yourself. But this was when I was at my wit's end, man. I'd gone through
You were pretty
like
close to
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Like just
Yeah.
it was hard going. But sponsored myself. Within 6 months, I have my permanent residency. I'm like, man.
What was that like?
Oh man, honestly, I've never been so happy in my life.
The
That was
load
like
off of your shoulders.
that
would
was
have
a
been
massive
fucking
load.
Wild.
It was
bro.
insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest achievements I've done in my life.
But to just stick to it and not just because at any point you probably could have gone back to Scotland,
At any point, yeah, I could have gone back, but for me, it was like,
but maybe you could have, but you couldn't.
yeah,
Right? You knew you couldn't.
I knew it was going, I'd create a life here,
Yeah.
and like, I felt like Australia kind of accepted me. Back in Scotland, I didn't kind of feel I was accepted, because yeah, look, I am weird, I am hyper, I've got that kind of personality,
And it's not like that. Very
yeah,
underspoken in Scotland.
yeah, a little bit. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
people talk about their problems as much
you,
in
like,
Scotland.
You fit in with Aussies for sure.
Yeah,
Just
definitely.
like just the larrikin
Oh, man, I've-
type of like jovial, happy, not
Yeah.
very serious.
I think Aussies are quite optimistic as well. And
They
they're
are.
and they're very open as well. I think the fact that we're very like multicultural here and stuff as well. Whereas Scotland wasn't as multicultural at the time
That's
when I
very-
was
that's a
there.
good point.
And yeah, the people are a lot more welcoming. You know, they'd all. I just have to say good morning to someone, and they'd be like, "Oh, where are you from, lad?" You know, like they'd hear the accent. And you're like, "Wow, you heard that."
And they're
from
happy to
two
see you,
words.
bro.
Yeah, happy to see you. You know, and it was like,
Yeah.
I felt like my personality fitted in,
Yeah.
and people were really nice, man. Like it was, felt really welcome here.
I felt that when I travelled to LA. People were just fucking rude, bro.
Yeah.
Like someone would bump into you or something like that, and usually like here in Australia, like, "Oh, sorry, bro," and the other guy's like, "Nah, no sweat, like all good." And you do it in America, and the person just like looks at you with like daggers, and I'm like, "Oh, like you're depressed."
Yeah, that's interesting. Hey.
That's fine. It's like I said, it's interesting, like from country to country, continent to continent.
Yeah.
Like the base of the personalities. Like, the stereotypes almost, without it leading into the bad stuff, but like the stereotypes of like people think Japanese people are super quiet, prideful and efficient, right? And then you go to like America and it's fucking wild. You go to Scotland and people are like super grumpy or like...
Yeah, we're known to be grumpy.
Yeah. And
yeah.
there's an element of truth to it, but it's interesting, like I'm more interested in like the pros and the cons of the types, or more so like what's good about being a larrikin country and what's bad about what are some of the negatives that come with it. And I think you kind of come from a place which is two different ones.
Yeah.
You get a bit of both.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. Like,
yeah, I've managed to live two lives in some way, the way I look at it. I came here when I was 22. I'm 37 now. But
so you're coming up close to you've been in Australia more than you were in Scotland.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
That's crazy.
And look, there's sacrifices to be made. Obviously, all my family are still in Scotland. Yeah. I've been back 2 or 3 times, I think.
That's during this, and COVID happened.
Yeah, and COVID happened, and it's
that
like
been wild over in, because obviously Europe got hammered.
Yeah, Scotland's definitely, COVID has had a huge negative impact. I do talk to my mum about it, and she's like, yeah, it's really gone downhill. It's quite sad.
Like still? Like actively going
still,
downhill?
Yeah, still. It's like gotten a lot worse.
Just the repercussions of it, more so?
Yeah, and just people obviously losing their jobs. There's less job opportunities there than there is here. Again, you know, the weather can, with that as well.
Plays into it.
But I mean, since I've been here, like in Australia, I've never been out of work. Whereas when I was in Scotland, just trying to get my trade, I was struggling.
But if you're a labourer here, tradie labour, you'll find work.
If you want to work in Australia, there is work. Like,
if you're willing to get work.
Yeah,
you'll find it.
You know, and you just put yourself out there a little bit. Like, you can definitely find something. Whereas in Scotland, man, it's tough. It was a lot tougher here. I haven't had any issues getting work here. I think, like, so obviously I run my own painting business now. Eventually, once I got my visa, it was like, right, I'm going to start my own business. All my work is referral based. So all the work I get, like, it's just people referring me. Yeah, and it's like, great. And I never really panic too much. You know, I might only have a week of work ahead of me, but it's like, I know how to get work. You know, I can speak to people, I can put myself out there, the networking. So it's totally different.
So you end up in Aussie, did some training, did some boxing, you end up at ISA Health, you start doing more competitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was competition always the goal, or was it a byproduct of enjoying your training? Is it just another thing that was a challenge or a mixture of all those things, or is it something kind of completely different? Because I speak to people about why they compete all the time, and people have vastly different answers. Some people are full of shit, and some people are completely lost. For myself, it was always external validation, bro. It was never really something that was a burning thing within me.
Yep.
You know, so I'm super interested because you love challenges, you love the chaos and all this type of stuff.
I do enjoy a bit of chaos.
Is that part of the competition aspect?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do actually. I mean, not so much now.
Because we are polar opposites with jiu-jitsu.
Yes, we are. We are. You're very conservative.
I'm very
super
conservative.
I'm just like
high percentage. You're like fucking let's do it. And I think like there's pros. Like we said this chat so many times. There's pros and cons to like both of them.
Agreed.
And if we could find someone that was like a mixture of the two of us, maybe that's the perfect blend. But I'm super interested about the competition side because you're not someone who ever seemed. I've cornered you at comps before. You never seemed overawed by the event. You never seemed. Maybe you're really good at fucking hiding it. You never seemed ultra nervous or anything like that. It always just seemed like this cool fucking thing where you're just gonna get out there and have a crack.
I'll be honest. I'm good at hiding it.
Yeah.
I think Like, I do obviously enjoy the challenge.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know that my jiu-jitsu worked.
That was
like,
one of the big things.
I wanted to know that what I was doing is actually going to work. And I think, personally, I think competition is obviously the best way to try that. Like, it's great training with your teammates. You know, you get to try new stuff. But you eventually get used to training with your teammates.
Yeah.
You kind of know what they're going to do, and you kind of might play a different game around what they're going to do.
Game.
Yeah, they get used to your game as well. So it's like, all right, let's go there and have a match with someone who I have absolutely no idea what this guy's going to do, and this guy has no idea what I'm going to do. It's like, this is chaos.
Yeah,
like, it's like, it's awesome. And I mind when I first started. So I think when I was at ISO, I was obviously competing at blue belt. And the level from white to blue was, vastly different, I have to say. Like, there's a huge jump. You know, white belt, you've got a lot, is what people would say is spazzy, and there's all that over-excitement and stuff, you know, and I think you do get hurt, like, things like,
wild,
you know, it's wild, it's like the Wild West, man.
Bro, I look back at those times, I'm like, that shit was crazy.
You see the white belt grabbing the arm bar, they're like, oh!
Yeah, but like, even now, like, we roll with rotational leg locks and neck cranks and shit. But it seems more wild when that shit was off the table, but it was just two white belts just fucking insane. Going. Because they don't know what they don't know, so they're just going, bro. And it's wild. So
it was insane. But I have to say, like, I mean, so I enjoyed the challenge. I was nervous, definitely, because I'm like, right up until probably now sitting at Brown, I've never been good at guard passing.
Yeah, so the genesis of nerves is interesting, right? So does it come from people watching? Does it come from potentially nerves about getting a result that you don't want? Is it fear of getting hurt or injuring your opponent? Is it a mixture of all of it, or is it not even any of those things?
I think more just like you have to get used to losing, I reckon, sometimes.
It's fucking hard, bro.
Yeah, it is hard, you know.
It's something that, again, ego-wise, I hate it.
For sure.
Like, and everyone's going to say, everyone hates losing. No one.
Yeah.
If you're not a sore loser, you're just a loser,
yeah,
right?
you really do hate it,
I
don't you?
fucking hate it, bro.
Because I'm like,
I look. Oftentimes, I would look and I would be envious of how people can let it go.
Yep.
And just be like, on to the next one.
Yeah, so I'm good at that. I'm good at just
You're very good at that.
Yeah. I don't really take things to heart anymore. I think after going through the visa stuff, it taught me that as well.
Oh, well, in context of problems, bro.
Yeah, context of problems. When you're about to get kicked out of the country, it's like losing a match that I've paid to do. It's like, whatever, man. It's all good, you know. If anything, it makes you better. I think I learned quite a lot through life that when you lose, you'll actually learn a lot more than you will when you win.
100%. I pretty much learned fuck all from tournaments and matches I won.
Yeah, when you're winning,
just reaffirms what you're doing. But when you've lost, you're like, well, what the fuck was that? Like,
how do I get better? What do I lose by? I got caught by this. Yeah. But with the nerves thing, like, I think it was. I wanted to prove to my team, you know, I've just kind of been at this team, ISO Health. I wanted to kind of prove to my team that, you know, I want to be part of this team. I want my team to respect me. And I want them to think like, I'm actually quite good. So I think the nerves there more so as well. And also as well, nobody wants to get hurt. At the time I was working as a painter, it's like, if I get my arm broken again, I'm like, how am I going to paint? Like, this is going to be tricky. You know, it's not like I could just come in an office and just, it's like, okay, so I need to consider my work when I'm doing this. And also because of the diet things as well, like if I keep my diet steady, the nerves are easier.
Yeah.
But if my diet's not good, my blood sugar levels are low, the ADHD goes out of control, and I think that can kind of give you a bit of anxiety as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, for me, the anxiety comes from overthinking.
Yes.
A lot of the time, like overanalyzing. Well, this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen.
Yeah.
With ADHD, obviously, you're kind of predisposed to your mind racing. Yeah. That's what kind of made it seem super impressive, is that you have this thing which makes your mind just firing constantly, but still be able to be relatively calm.
Yeah.
Or at least on the exterior, you're showing people that this is fun.
Yeah.
I'm calm.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I think I just enjoy it. I think that I've always had that carefree attitude as well.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, but it is like, you know, it's like, I might lose this, but it's like, whatever, there'll be another comp in 3 months' time. And it's like, who actually cares? Outside of you, it's like your team are not like, oh yeah, Andy lost that match in Grappling Industries at 2012, you know, like he's terrible. It's like, no, your team are supporting you, saying, oh, well done, you know, like now you know what to work on. It's like,
I had this where I would constantly get in my head thinking that if I got a result which wasn't the one that was expected by others or myself.
Yeah.
That they would look at you as less.
Yeah, they don't.
And that changed when I watched one of our fighters have an MMA fight. Lost the fight, and the first thing I was thinking was, it wasn't, oh my god, he lost. It was like, I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't think that he's let anybody down.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, fuck, this is what other people are thinking when I'm competing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not this thing where it's like, well, Andy or Chris lost, like, no respect for them anymore. It's all built up in your own in your own mind.
It's all in your own head.
That's probably one of the. I think competing helped me a lot in the sense it made me. It sped up my ability to stay calm and think during jiu-jitsu, which then helped me in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
To start doing that,
Yeah.
I think you can cut sometimes, not for everybody. You can tell when someone's never had to make those decisions under real stress.
Yeah.
Right, and then you can tell the people that, like, you can make these decisions with your eyes closed, type of thing, in a stressful environment, and it's completely normal.
Yeah.
The competing aspect's super interesting, bro.
It is super interesting. I think the competing, like, personally, I think you want to get good at jiu-jitsu a lot quicker. Competing will do that for you.
It'll help. It'll speed it up.
100%. And just you learn what your weaknesses are. You learn what your strengths are. You learn to deal with those anxious feelings that you get before, which are also going to translate into the rest of your life.
For sure. 100%.
You know, jiu-jitsu teaches you how to work well under pressure. You know, people are trying to take away your air and break your limbs. It's like, how do you stay calm in that? You know, so, like, even your daily life, like, it adds so much to it in that sense. And then obviously, like, just the challenging yourself aspect of it. Blue belt was definitely challenging. I don't think I've ever been challenged as much. That's probably wrong to say. Like, obviously, purple and brown competing there is challenging, but it's completely different at blue belt. Blue belt was scrappy. It was intense. It was a gauntlet, man. Like, I mind signing up Grappling Industries, and it's like, oh, you've got 11 fights for blue belt, and it was like, wow. It's like, okay, how am I going to maintain the energy for that? And like I said, I had no guard passing skills, man. So my skills were basically, I'm going to try flying triangles and flying arm bars and cartwheel passes.
What belt were you at when you had that? You had that perfect day where you fucking.
That was blue belt.
That was a blue belt. Yeah.
So I won all 11 matches. Yeah. And I had the fastest submission of the day.
Yeah,
and
you were on fire that day.
Yeah, my matches were pretty much all like under 1 minute 30.
I remember that day vividly, bro. That was sick.
It's a good day. It was a good day. But I think prior to that, I had an injury. I got toe holded in training, and I entered the comp. And fair enough, my coach told me I probably shouldn't do it, but I was like, it's kind of like, oh, I really want to do this, you know, I feel like I've been training hard, I need it. For me, I was going through a lot of stuff at the time, personally, and I'm like, I just need it to, like, make me feel a bit better. And yeah, I went in that comp, and I lost all my matches, and it was more because of my mindset, and because I was cautious of people grabbing my foot. I'm like, I lost all the matches, but again, I was just like, do you know what, cool, alright, whatever, I take it on board, it sucked, I know I can do better. And then the next comp, I was just like, this is me doing better. Like, I'm coming for everyone, man. I'm like, I'm in there. I'm going to show the energy. And yeah, I think there was like 3 flying submissions. There's all straight ankle locks and just triangles and arm bars. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
So we've touched a little bit on like what your jiu-jitsu was like early.
Yeah.
For people who haven't seen you compete a bunch, it's flying triangles, flying arm bars. If there was a way that he could launch his 80 kilos into the air and submit you, he would do that. What was the appeal with that stuff early?
Again, like I said, my guard passing wasn't the best. And I found
very good. I'll caveat this: you didn't just catch regular people with it. You caught high level guys with these flying techniques. So it's not like you were just spamming it on people who didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
You got very fucking good at using them. What was the appeal? Because there was a reason why I pursued the techniques that I got good at.
Yeah.
What was the appeal for you?
So with the flying techniques, they can actually be done quite safely, and if you fail a flying armbar, you potentially have pulled guard. Yeah. So a lot of the times, once you learn to do like a flying armbar, like a lot of the times it would come off, they would clinch up with me. And I would like grab their arm, and I would just jump, swing one of my legs round, and I would land like they would carry my weight, and I would land on the ground. And if it failed, I would pretty much be like on the ground, just pulled guard.
Yeah.
Haven't really lost any points, and it's like, okay, now I'm on the ground. Now I'll fight from here.
Yeah.
Other times they shoot like a double, whatever, and I would just like try and do a flying triangle, things like that. But I just found it a quick and easy way to end a fight, so that I could go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And like I said, also my guard passing wasn't the best, so it's like,
You had a good guard on bottom.
Yeah, my guard's
Very
always been good.
Triangles and arm bars, like very good upper body
Yeah.
submissions. You got your depth, dove really deep into the leg locks as well.
Love the leg
so
locks.
you were completely fine with playing off of your back. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that like, well, if it works, I get the submission. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
we're in the place I want to be anyway. So
Yeah. Then I started spamming them, and I noticed like I've still done the flying submissions up to brown.
yeah,
Yeah, in purple, I managed to catch a few. That was pretty cool.
yeah, I would say you just don't use them as often now.
I don't use them as often. I'd
Yeah.
rather use like, I mean, it's flashy jiu-jitsu and it's risky and it's like it's opportunistic as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want it because people started knowing that I would do that because I would obviously like post it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, people are looking at your Instagram before they fight you.
But that's
and
what
they're
blew
like,
my mind, bro. Is like you'd be posting stuff on Instagram and you'd go out, and the dudes are just
yeah, they know it's
slap
coming.
the necktie on again.
They
and
know
they're
it's
just waiting
coming.
there.
And
And
you're like,
I'm like, he's gonna throw out this armbar any second
yeah.
now.
You're like, thank you.
But again, like, what else are you supposed to do if you're that person? You don't clinch anymore. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
pull guard, they're not going to want to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a really unique strategy and one that no one else really had. Was
No,
using
I didn't
at
really
the
see
gym.
many people
or
doing
even
flying
in
subs.
the comp scene. I think I
Yeah.
saw Isaac Mitchell do a couple where
Yeah.
he was floating around, but there's not many.
Well, do you know how it started? I had the comp, and I'm like, I knew I needed to know guard passing, and I was like, oh, it's too hard to learn right now. So I YouTubed flying triangle and flying armbar, and the night before the comp, and then I was like, I'm gonna go in and do that. And that's how it worked. And then the following day, it was
Some
like.
dude gets YouTube flying
It
triangles.
was literally the night before. Yeah,
Yeah.
flying armbar, and I go in and hit 3 of them, and then flying triangles, and
Yeah.
it was good. It served its purpose, and like you said, I've still got it now. I still have these flying submissions. If I see the opportunity, yeah, why not? I'm gonna go for it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm gonna end up my back, and I can work off my back anyway.
Yeah.
But now progressing forward, it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that flashy stuff. I've been
What's the
developing.
reasoning? Yeah. So is it more just broadening the game?
Just broadening it. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I feel like I know how to nail them. I
Yeah.
know how to nail a flying triangle. I know how to nail a flying armbar. I never actually trained them in the gym.
Yeah.
Because I don't like want to obviously try and hurt my opponents. I never actually hurt anyone doing any of the flying armbars because I've managed to get them kind of perfect where you're not landing on their knees.
You're not going belly down. Or
Yeah,
anything
no,
like
you're not
that,
hurting
yeah.
them. You know, there was the odd 1 or 2 I did in comp where I landed on my own back, and you're like, you're like, I hope he didn't hear that. You know, you're like, oh, that really hurt. But yeah, let's just play guard game now.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving forward, it's like I've still got them, but now I'm developing a clinch game. Like I know where
Well,
my
your
weak areas
stand-up
are.
game.
Yeah.
With your overhooks and your underhooks is coming
Yeah.
along really nicely.
Yep.
And what's actually super common, what's a dude named Keith Precorian, the trains out of Vanguard, I believe.
Yep.
Anyway, he ties hip tosses, like overhooks and underhooks, with Imanari rolls for if it fails.
Yeah.
So what he'll do is he'll have him hopping on that other leg, the far side leg, and
Yep.
obviously if the throw doesn't work, that leg's planted.
Yep.
So he just drops down and attacks that other leg.
Yep.
I saw that and I was thinking, like, I pray to God Andy never fucking sees this.
Well, I love that shit,
Um,
and because that's another principle I have in my head now as well
Yeah.
that I do is I attack high low.
Mm.
So that was the other thing I used to do actually. So when I would do the flying armbar, so you jump for the flying armbar, so I'm attacking high. If that fails, I'm now down low, and then I would scoop for the legs.
Yeah.
So it's like I've got that. You're attacking.
I've seen you do that armbar to leg transition
Yeah.
so many times.
Oh, it's-
They posture up out of the armbar
Yep.
and you just
They
take
go
that
straight for
K-guard
the
top
leg.
of entry
Yeah.
and get it. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a nice blend from top to bottom.
It's very
And
effective.
I do lots of, it's again, we talk about how we're opposites. I do lateral, like I go left to right.
Yeah.
You go up and down.
Yeah.
So like, again,
I'm
same
scoping
thing,
that whole
but
body.
different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do the same when, like, say if they're you've got them in a triangle and they manage to pull the arm out. Generally, when they pull the arm out, they might like kind of posture up a bit. It leaves room for you to scoop under their legs. So it's like I was attacking the triangle, now I'm going for your leg, and it's like
Yeah,
same
they're
again.
just
I'm going to
stressed,
start
bro.
start stressing them. Just throw as many problems at them until they can't solve one. It's like you've been caught.
Yeah. So what do you think? if blue belt Andy was all flying submissions and stuff like that, what does brown belt Andy's jiu-jitsu look like now, would you say? Or if you could kind of describe it.
I think so. You skip the belt. We'll go purple. So purple, I think, was when there was a huge transition for me.
So that's kind of where it
shifted. Yeah, everything shifted at purple. I think I had my first purple comp. It was against Alan Hartley from CCMA, one of the matches there.
Yeah.
Like, he smashed me on points. It was pretty cool. He had like 22 points on me.
Yeah.
But the actual whole match was like so flowy, and like everything felt intentional, as opposed to like the scrappiness of the blue belt. And I'm like, I really, really enjoyed this. And I really enjoyed how Alan actually like bet me with his points and his transition and his movements. And I was like, I want to learn that. Like, I want to learn how to be more calmer in my jiu-jitsu and like not just be all this hyper stuff and spamming these techniques. So with the purple, it was like, I'm going to try to be more calmer. So transitioning into brown, it's like even more calmer. So it's like, it's that calm, aggressive side. The hyperactivity is always there. So it's like, I'm ready to push the button on the nos when I want to, but it's more calm and doing like solid jiu-jitsu and learning how to hold positions. Because I remember, I think it was after that Alan's match, and I had a match with Bubbles, who's now got his own gym, and he beat me points as well. It was like...
Was it much?
Yeah, it was same. It was probably like 20 points or something, because I had 0 points game. I was literally just a submission hunter.
Yeah, you subbed or you lost.
Yeah, subbed or I lost. It was as simple as that. But yeah, they were beating me points, so I'm like, I need to learn this points thing. But I need to learn how to hold a position and actually relax and calm and hold a position, and then do like a position submission, which is pretty standard jiu-jitsu, but I just didn't have it like up till purple.
Yeah.
Whereas brown belt now, it's all just like, I feel like everything in my life is good and calm, and like now my jiu-jitsu is good and calm. And it's like just focusing on, okay.
It's kind of a reflection, bro.
It is, indeed. Yeah. I mean, I think probably for a lot of people, you know, if they're having like problems and issues in their personal life, you know, it might kind of slow down their progression in their jiu-jitsu, because they might take it into the gym. But yeah, because everything's calm there now, my jiu-jitsu is a lot more calmer. So I'm a lot more focused. I feel like I'm more on top of the ADHD and obviously my nutrition. Like, so I've gone from being 69 kilos, I'm now 91 kilos. Trying to get heavier all the time. Every day is a bulk day. But yeah, just so much calmer, and it's working on like actual self-defense jiu-jitsu as well. Like, I've started learning much better judo. Like, I really love judo, which you'd obviously use in the street. You know, I'm not going to use a flying armbar in the street. Like, it's just stupid, bro. You know, it's like, why would I do that to myself? You know, actual use proper self-defense techniques. So a bit more wrestling, a bit more clinching, a bit more judo. And then when you get them on the ground, like, I see legs all the time. I'm just like, leave the leg alone. Try and focus on your other game. Learn how to deal with top pressure. Yeah. Like, I've never had top pressure. I used to just let people throw me off. I'd go to bottom and I'd work guard. And it's like, now you're not learning full jiu-jitsu here. Like, now I think my mind's expanded to trying to learn full jiu-jitsu, and just also at the same time keep getting better at what I am good at. But that's not my primary focus, you know. I'm very open-minded, and I want to learn all jiu-jitsu and just get better at the stuff that I'm bad at. Like, stop using the techniques I'm good at. Except for in competition and stuff, I'll still resort to some of the techniques.
Even with your competition stuff, you went from like lots of upper body submissions, the arm bar and the triangle, to then there's lots of like heaps of ankle locks.
Yeah. Favorite submission.
Yeah, it's the best, bro.
It's the best.
It's the best.
Like, it's a cheat code.
People shit on the ankle lock, but I'm like, you
honestly,
you can't do it properly.
I think I noticed it more. I mean, obviously, jiu-jitsu being one of the few martial arts sports where they have open weight competitions, like, that was probably my favorite challenge.
Yeah, bro.
Because you're going in open weight, and you're like, that's how you know your jiu-jitsu works. You know, you're going up against guys who are heavier than you, and no matter what anyone says, the weight is obviously an advantage.
And they've trained.
Yeah, and they've trained as well.
So they're not just bigger.
Yeah. So you've got the same belt as you. They've got extra 20 kilos on you. You're like, how am I going to beat this dude? And there was numerous times. Again, no points game like Submission Hunter. Numerous times I'm getting smashed points. The dude's smashing me. I managed to see his leg. I just latch on and I just crank it. And you're just like, holy shit! I was losing that. He's tapped, and I'm like, I've just won that. I've just like wow, I was in the shark's mouth there, and I just
very
managed to get
close.
out by poking him in the eyes.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, cheat code, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that straight ankle lock, man, that's done me so well. But I think I also learned as well, when I got to purple, I'm trying to straight ankle lock people, and they're not tapping. They just be looking at you, like staring at you, like, is that all you got,
Take
bro?
it, yeah.
And you'd be like, wow. And that was an eye opener for me as well, because you're like, okay, there's levels to this submission as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to go deeper. I thought I was good at this sub. I need to go deeper into this submission and learn how to tap these guys who don't want to tap. And that's where you learn, instead of having a pain compliance submission, you're actually learning to properly break.
You've got to learn to break.
You got to learn to break. So if you don't tap to this is going to cause a break. I mean, some guys still won't tap, they'll let it break. It's like, go you, Glenn Coco, you know, I've got work to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if someone's, I've had this in a tournament where I had a toe hold on someone and their foot just kind of like vaporized in
I've
my
seen you
hand,
destroy
right?
people's feet.
And then he's injured, it obviously injured him really badly to the point where I grab it 30 seconds later and he's tapping.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, you let it pop,
Yeah.
but you can't fight with a broken, you can fight with a broken ankle, but
Yeah.
you're going to be so compromised that guard retention's going to be fucked.
Yeah.
If they grab it again, you're going to be fucked. So yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, they can let it pop,
Yeah.
but they're not, if they were at 100% as a grappler at that point, once their ankle pops, they're not going to be at 100%. They're going to be a worse version of themselves. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, like I said, to watch not just yourself, but different students and even yourself, like yourself as in me, how people pick and choose techniques that they cycle through and the phases they almost go through, because that's how you kind of see the person mature as a grappler as well.
Yeah.
There's people that stay very, very...
Stay in their lane.
They stay in their lane, they keep the same 3-4 techniques, they become fucking really good at them, and they're completely happy with that.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who are technique hoarders, right? And they can't do anything, and then there's people that are obviously in between.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty, the good spot is in between.
Yeah.
Having that curiosity to find new techniques and new ways to do things.
Yeah.
But also understanding you don't need a huge arsenal.
Yeah.
To beat people. You know what I mean? You don't need to have
No, you don't.
20 different submissions. If
Yeah.
you've got a system where everything's in place more so, it's probably more dangerous. So like the system for you would be flying armbar, I get the armbar. If not, if they posture up, I go to the leg.
Yeah.
And it's a repeatable pattern
Yeah.
where you know a certain response is coming and you can capitalize on that response. Has it always been like that? Or would you kind of, at the start it was like, I'll catch whatever's kind of hanging out there? Do you ever really go into a match with a game plan or a technique that you're looking for, or is it very much exploratory and kind of...
Say it was random.
Yeah.
Like just present some chaos and let me deal with it. I think when I was first competing blue belt and then like in early purple, I was like, let's see what my opponent does and I'll react. So I would probably be more countering, which was never good, man. I'd always end up in a bad position.
You're eventually going to get it wrong.
Oh, and I'm trying to fight out of a bad position, and I would lose fights that I was like, oh, if you had a better game plan, you might have won that fight. But
you would constantly beat people that were higher level, right? Because of your style. And then sometimes you would lose to someone where you'd be like, "Wow, how the fuck did that happen?" You know what I mean? And it's just the nature of that style, that high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You're going to have super high highs, and there's going to be times where it doesn't go great.
I definitely realised that.
But you were able to take it fine, bro. Like I don't remember ever seeing you spit the dummy or...
No.
I'm sure you were frustrated within yourselves at times.
Minor frustrations,
but never ever to the point where I was like, this is affecting him.
No.
You know?
No, I feel like it's a learning process. And I think that's the other reason as well. Like I think one of the things that helped me learn faster was, I mean, we've all got ego, but was to lose the ego. And like, if I wanted to try something in the gym against the teammates who are on my same level, or even some who might not be, I'm like, I'm just going to try this. Like, I'm just going to like put my arm here and see if I can get out of this submission. And it's like, they might tap me and I've lost, but it's like, whatever, I don't care. It's like, that's how I would learn. So I'm like, I'm going to put myself on the deep end to get out. So I think then my jiu-jitsu got very defensive, because I was always trying to fight out of situations.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
weren't
like
the one dictating. You
I
were
wasn't.
responding.
Yeah, I was responding. But it's like, because I did that, then my defense got very good, and I'm like, I got comfortable in bad positions.
Well, Gordon Ryan, people whether they like him or not, he's super kind of on the theme that you and I had the same experience. The first thing I got good at was escaping. Now, I still think I'm actually better defensively than I am probably offensively.
Yep.
Right? But Gordon Ryan speaks about it constantly. He's like, the ability to have the comfort of knowing that you can escape the most fucked positions at all times gives you the freedom to try what you want.
Yeah.
So if you're on top and you're like, well, I'm going to try this technique, or if you're on bottom, like, I'm going to throw up this armbar. If it goes wrong for me, he might pass.
Yeah.
But if you're, I can escape side control, or I can escape turtle effectively.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Right? So it kind of works out in a really good way where, like, in the initial phases, it's all escaping, defending, being hard to be pinned and submitted.
Yeah.
Because later on, you now have this, you're like, well, if the guy gets on my back, I'll still probably be sweet.
You're
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So there's no fear in pulling the trigger. And for me, as early in jiu-jitsu, that was a big problem for me, was pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, that's why didn't hate takedowns, I hated shooting.
Yeah.
Because it's that, if you pull the trigger and it doesn't go how you want it to go, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And for you didn't have that.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, there were times maybe I could have won.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Mm-hmm. And maybe there were times where you could have not lost and you didn't,
yeah.
right? But neither of us find out unless you have a go. And that's why I say I think both outlooks are valid. It's just interesting to talk about the thinking behind it.
I think my mentality, I would go into every fight and I would be like, I want to make sure this opponent does not have a good time with me.
I saw this guy speaking about this the other day. And he was like, I don't think about going in there and win or lose. I just want to fuck that guy's day up.
Yeah.
And I want him to walk away from this thinking...
That was a hard roll.
That was I don't want to grapple that guy ever again.
That's what I wanted. I wanted people thinking, like, shit, there's Andi Keil. Fuck. Yeah. Like, this is not going to be an easy roll.
I might come out of this with the win, but it's going to cost me something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mind once we competed against the dudes, and there was three of us in the top three, and... So I grappled one guy, and the match went for the full distance, and at the end, he was gassed. He was absolutely gassed. He's like, but he bet me. He bet me on points. So then he goes in, and he's got the next match, and he was winning on points, but because of the match beforehand where I just gassed him, I killed him, and he ended up spewing during the match, and he's been sick on the mats, and he's like, trying to catch his breath, and obviously the guys are like, you can't continue, like, and there was only like 10 seconds left as well on the actual thing, and he was going to win, but because he spewed in the match and he couldn't continue, he got like the DQ for that. And then I ended up like coming first in the comp. Man, the photos are funny. Yeah, you see his face; he's not happy. He's just devastated. But it's like, I wanted to make sure that every opponent I face, has a hard time, has at least a challenge with me. They're not going to be like, this is going to be an easy roll.
Take your pound of flesh. Bro.
It's like, no worries. I mean, you might win, you might not, but bro, I'm putting everything out there.
And as a conservative like grappler, those guys that are just willing to fucking just risk it all, they're the ones you're like, fuck man, like, if I come up against another guy who's pretty calculated and likes making choices, very digestible. But if some chaos agent drops on the mat and then they drag you into this world of everything's fucked up, things get fucked up. Do you know what I mean? And
I like the scattergun approach. You just
bro. No center mass, just everything, bro.
Just throw everything. Like, let's see how you deal with it.
You've talked about some of the S&C stuff. You've just started studying
personal
strength
training
and conditioning. Potentially a bit of a career shift in the future for you?
Yeah, I hope so. So obviously I've been running my own business. Like, it's definitely weighing my body down.
Well, painting, bro. I did it for a week and I was like, you know what, bro? Like,
I've been doing it for like,
you paid me really well for doing it, but I was like, nah, bro, like, I'm good.
20 years, man. I was doing it 6 days a week, and then I was training like 3 times a week during the
shoulders,
nights.
Bro. Surely your shoulders are fucked.
But I mean, I think the passion for jiu-jitsu and nutrition as well has helped me maintain, and obviously weights as well has helped me maintain like my job as well. Like I know how to come back from injuries quite well. I'm quite at it. When something hurts, I'm like, I'll have the wheat bags. I'll change my diet, so like anti-inflammatories in my diet and stuff. I'll train around the injury as well to try and like encourage healing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to be personal training now. So in another 6 months, I'll probably be a qualified personal trainer. I'm going to work 4 days a week, which I'm doing now, painting.
Yeah.
And then yeah, see what happens with a personal trainer. I'd love to train clients in a gym. See
Awesome.
where
New
that's
chapter
going to
for you,
lead.
bro.
Yeah, a new
That's
chapter.
something you've been passionate about, obviously.
I'm passionate about fitness and training, and I get a kick as well at helping people. You know what it's like. You know,
Yeah.
even the lower belts. You know, they're asking you questions. Like, it's really cool to see that you've helped them. You know, they're thank you so much.
It's way more rewarding.
Yeah, it's very
watching
rewarding.
someone. It's way more rewarding helping someone achieve a goal than achieving it yourself.
Yeah.
That's personally.
I would agree.
How
I would definitely agree.
Every time I've won something, I'm like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But then I see someone, if they win something with a technique you've taught them, or
Yeah.
you supported them for the day and it got them over the line,
Yeah.
that's way more.
I think with the
Way more
jiu-jitsu as
valuable.
well, it's like paying it forward. You know,
Yeah.
it's like somebody put the time and effort into helping you grow to where you are now. It's like, I feel like you can put the time and effort in other people as well. And you know, you'll deal with a lot of stupid questions where you're just like, did you really ask me that, bro? You're
Yeah.
like, that was a stupid question. But you're like, no, look, I'll try and help you in any way I can.
Yeah.
And I think realizing as well, not everyone learns the same way as you.
Exactly,
so it's,
bro. It's a huge
like,
one.
It is a huge one.
It's a huge one.
You know, because I've always been like, nah, just do it this way, mate. It's like, how you not getting it? It's like, nah, just do it that way. And it's like, just because I learn it that way doesn't mean that you learn it that way. So it's...
Yeah, but part of like coaching is realizing that as well, and then shifting.
Of course.
So it's like, okay, so this person doesn't learn how I learn.
Yeah.
If I just keep giving them cues or signals that work for me,
Yeah.
I'm not teaching me. That's not the point. You're teaching that person. And
Yeah.
one thing Matt told me when I first started coaching was, it's your job to deliver the message, right?
Yeah.
And if we use you, for example, if Andy's, the way that he receives his message is text message, that's fine. If it's smoke signal, you do smoke signal.
Yeah.
But the point is that you find out how they receive the message and you give it to them in that format. It's not my job to be like, hey, Andy, I'm here to teach you, bro, but you've got to learn this way.
Yeah.
My job is whoever rolls in, you teach them jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
right? And you got to find out how to make that stick for them.
Yeah.
And that's the fun and challenging part. And you'll have this with
Yeah.
obviously jiu-jitsu and the strength and conditioning stuff, because you touched on it before. Like, it's obviously it's a deep.
It's a super deep rabbit hole. I think that's
Yeah.
the reason why I love jiu-jitsu as well. I've got a hunger for learning and a hunger for knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think with the painting side of things, I'm like, I've kind of hit a ceiling.
Like a coral belt of painting now, bro.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, it's a rewarding job. It's super satisfying, you know, like a client's house is their pride and joy. And sometimes I just put podcast on for like 8 hours a day and I just paint, and then client comes in, they're like, oh my God, it looks amazing. I'm like, that actually looks really good. And I'm like, I did
same.
that. But with the fitness side of things, it's like, that's where my passion is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm good at painting. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should always
Pays
do
your
it.
bills, bro. It's not.
Yeah, you know, it pays the bills. Whereas being in the gym, like whether it be jiu-jitsu gym, like, or just strength and conditioning, like, yeah, that's where I actually really, really get a kick out of it. Whether it's training myself, trying to hit personal goals, or obviously helping other people. Like, yeah, that's where I would love to kind of see a little bit in my future. So if I can
Yeah.
do both, like potentially run my own personal training business and then have the painting business, so do the both of them at the same time, which will definitely be challenging.
Yeah, but you got options are good. bro.
Options, man. I mean, they're both quite flexible jobs. You know,
Yeah.
I can not paint for a week, and if I can get clients personal training, whatever, it's like I can do that.
It'll be challenging initially, just like
Yeah,
adding anything extra will be, but
yeah,
the juice will be worth the squeeze for sure. Bro.
yeah, definitely. I reckon, and that's
And feeling fulfilled, bro.
yeah.
Like you're learning things.
I think
again.
that's important. You know, I'm happy coming out of my comfort zone a lot. You know, I mean, coming to Australia was out probably the
That's what I mean,
biggest
bro.
thing.
If you've been able to do that,
Yeah, I mean that's.
you're going to be able to
I'm pretty good outside my
start
comfort
PTing
zone.
people, bro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I just need to learn, like I said, how to speak to people like a bit calmer and not letting my ADHD sometimes get in the way of things. Like if I have, man, before competitions, before I compete in jiu-jitsu, I have a handful of jelly babies, man, or jelly beans, and they're like crack cocaine to me,
Boff
man.
told me a story about this. He said he saw you
yeah.
eat a snake, an Allen snake
Yeah,
once, and
one
you were
snake,
a different person.
one snake,
I was like, this is a superpower.
yeah,
bro.
it is, but it's like,
But obviously in some situations it's not.
yeah, nah, it's
Yeah.
not. I touched on it before. It's
Yeah.
like it sends me in a hyperdrive hit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so yeah, like I'm quite sensitive to sugar. I'm quite sensitive to caffeine. So I need to watch those things. But again, I know that now. I'm a bit more in tune with my own body, and I use them as tools.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
before sitting down with you like this, I'm not going to have much caffeine because I'm going to be all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
Whereas before a competition, it's like, yeah, give me the jelly beans. I
Straight
like, yeah, watch.
coffee beans.
Oh, it's so fun. Even at training, when we're in the
Yeah.
changing room sometimes, I'm just scoffing down some jelly beans, and like people are looking at me, they're like, what's that? They're like, jelly beans.
Those jelly beans from the chemist, the ones that people get for diabetes.
I'll buy them ones as well, like the glucogel ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to eat those
Yeah.
fucking flat out. I went through a phase of having jar of fucking honey,
Yeah.
and I was getting like honey in my beard and shit before I was like, I can't do this honey shit no more. Like,
I used to use the honey as well.
Then I've done peanut butter on like rice crackers,
Yeah.
like all that type of shit. But I'm someone, again, who's kind of opposite to you. I could do way better with some of those extra 1%ers off of the mat.
Yeah.
I'm like the quintessential jiu-jitsu dude who's like, I just want to get good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I don't really care about getting strong. I don't really care about
Yeah.
sleeping or eating and shit like that. I hope Matt doesn't watch this because he'll fucking kill me. But yeah, I like the strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
So I don't like lifting weights, but I understand it's important and it's required. And I can see how people would quickly get engulfed in that world.
Yeah.
Because again, so much knowledge to learn, so many different ways to do things.
Yeah, it's just
so
another
much cool stuff you can actually do.
Yeah, just more knowledge on top of knowledge. Like, I mean, a lot of people do jiu-jitsu because they love learning the knowledge, and it's a never-ending rabbit hole. You know, I did actually speak to someone recently, and they were telling me their friend got to a black belt and quit jiu-jitsu because it got too easy, and I'm like, I've never really heard that before. I'm like, you quit jiu-jitsu because it got too easy. I'm like, well, I don't know. There's always a way to challenge yourself.
100%.
Like, who quits jiu-jitsu because it gets too easy?
Well, we were talking about it before, bro.
Yeah.
It's people's interest.
Yeah, they can lose interest.
Yeah. I don't know if jiu-jitsu can ever get too easy.
I wouldn't say it gets too easy. There's always like somebody who's going to be better than
You
you.
can
and
find something
challenge
that
you.
you're a white belt in again.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
But with this strength and conditioning stuff, I think it's quite important that people do have strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu as well, because even the stretching side of things, like once you've been doing it for a while, like your body does kind of get affected, depending on how you roll, of course. You know, I mean, our coach Matt Jones' motto, move less, win more. Like, fantastic. I think now as a brown belt, I've started adopting that a lot more. Trying to be more precise with my movements, you know, less risky kind of jiu-jitsu that takes large movements. I'm just trying to train for longevity.
And you got both now, bro.
Yeah, got both now, which is great.
Which
you
is
know?
great.
Yeah.
You can pick. You don't have to be stuck in one lane.
No, definitely not. And I still want to compete. You know, obviously brown and blacks are now mixed.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what's kind of... Is competition still a focus for you?
It definitely is. I just, I mean, you've got guys who train full-time jiu-jitsu, and it's like, yeah, bro, I run my own business as well, you know, so it's like, sometimes I only get to training once a week. I do make sure that once a week is like, I'm really focused, I'm really dialed in, and I feel like I'm constantly learning all the time, and I'm pretty comfortable.
And you're training off the mat, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Much like I feel like I am, because I'm constantly... I'll walk into a room and I'm like, oh, what if someone tried to take me down up against that corner?
Exactly.
I'm like,
how good is it? But
I'm like, yeah, or like, what, could I get up with an underhook over there, bro? Like, what if we end up under this desk? Like, what can I do? But yeah, again,
I love that feeling.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And you know, another thing with the jiu-jitsu as well, I think the other reason I probably got into it as well is so you can actually protect people who can't protect themselves. And like, and just understanding social situations better as well.
oh, bro. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I did try and say a situation to Matt actually, like just as an example. You're in a coffee store, there's like 5 people in the line, and like someone cuts in, it's like a lot of people would have that bystander effect where they don't want to get involved, they just let it happen.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when you do jiu-jitsu as well, it kind of, for me personally, it gives me the confidence to say, hey mate, I don't think, you know, that we're all standing here waiting, you know, and it's like, you know, in the back of your mind that obviously I don't want anything to kick off.
No.
But I'm like, this person's being super rude, and it's like no one else is doing anything, like for whatever reason. Maybe they just don't like the confrontation, you know, it's like they don't want to create a scene or a fuss. Personally, it's like, no, I feel like I need to stand up for these people who've been waiting there, and this person's just can't. It's like, hey mate, you know, I can do it that way. I have actually had chats with Matt about the approach.
Yeah, and there's ways that you can make that happen without it being a fight.
Yes.
But if you're anxious and skittish,
yes,
the other person's going to feel that. But if you come to them super calm, hey bro, completely understand, you might not have realised it's a line.
Yeah.
Everyone's lined up, we've all got shit we've got to do. Like,
yeah, exactly, you know.
Just try and jump to the back.
Yep.
Or if you go up to them like, hey bro, like you can't do that. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, and you start arguing with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't help, bro.
But even just being able to like protect the girlfriends, protect, just like I said, protect other people who don't
walk
know.
around like a victim. Bro.
Yeah, you know, just gives you that confidence, and it's good. And the social awareness of things as well. Like I really, really value that aspect of it. And I want to train, man, until I can't train no more, you know.
Yeah.
Which hopefully that day never comes. I'd rather.
That should be the goal, hopefully, for everybody.
I'd say so. Even
know,
when they hit black belt, you know, like a lot of people get to black and they're like, "Hey, we're done," you know.
We had a 67-year-old guy come to a class the other day.
Yeah, nice.
And he was like, "You probably think I'm a fucking idiot." I was like, "No,
Nah.
I think you got the biggest balls of anyone in here."
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be doing this shit at
Yeah,
67, bro.
67,
Like, and it's like, yeah, he obviously completely understands that his experience is going to be a completely different one to the majority of the people in the class, but to have the bravery at 67
that's amazing.
to do that.
I love that.
Like I said, I couldn't imagine I would at 67 try that.
Well, even me and you are both like, oh, we wish we started this younger. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's the story for
It's always a story, isn't it?
everyone. Unless your dad was a jiu-jitsu black belt and you started training at 3, everyone's like, fuck, I wish I started.
And then you've got these little 15, 16-year-old phenoms that just come in.
Bro, we
and all
got a
they
couple
do
of
is
them at the gym
jiu-jitsu.
now, bro.
Yeah, I know.
And
They're
I'm like,
insane, eh?
you
The
know
stuff
what?
they know.
I don't mean this, but it's almost like you got to start like holding back the knowledge, because like I'm gonna be 40. I'm gonna be 45 one day. They're gonna be 30, and they're gonna know all this shit, and it's not gonna go well. But again, that's the kind of the beauty of it, bro.
Yeah.
It's like you watch people completely change. You watch someone go. There's a guy that trained at the gym, and he entered the gym because he had a really negative self-defense experience, and that'll never happen to him again.
Yep.
Like
because
of the skills he's learned and how his body's changed and all this type of stuff. He doesn't have to worry about that, particularly with that person, ever again.
Yep.
Which is must be a liberating fucking thing,
it's
bro.
amazing, mate. I mean, that was the same. Like I said, you know, again, be up in school, not being able to fight. Whereas now it's like, you know, I'm like, if anything was to happen, it's like I've got options.
Yeah.
You know, I've never had to use it at all. I generally don't get into fights. Like my first option would obviously be to try and talk the way out of the situation and calm the situation, de-escalate. But if something kicks off, it's like, all right, let's go. You know, you do what you have to. You protect the people around you as well. And the world right now is an interesting place. You know, people's patience is a lot shorter.
I worked on the door of on the door of a bar for a while, and towards the end there, people are they're angry,
especially
bro.
with the drink
they're
as well.
Angry, bro.
Like just
so
escalates.
angry,
Yeah.
so angry, and if I didn't have the skills from jiu-jitsu, not even technical skills, just having competed and been in a stressful environment, having to be able to think in a stressful environment,
stay calm and stuff.
Yeah, someone who's heightened,
Yeah.
they see you're calm, they may stay heightened,
Yeah.
but they might calm down.
Yeah.
But if they get heightened and you get heightened,
Yeah. You've just escalated the situation.
yeah, and you get into these positions where,
Yeah.
I think it was Frank Mir talking about it, and he's like, dudes have two things happen all the time. They got full-blown fights, which are where there's punches, kicking, weapons, fucking it's all on. And then they have duels.
Yeah.
And the duels are, hey, fuck you. And then you've got a choice whether you say, yeah, fuck me, like, whatever, or, no, fuck you. You know what I mean? And you can either let them walk away and be like, yeah, whatever. You could bash me, whatever you think. Or you can be like, nah, bro, like, don't talk to me like shit. And that ability to know that you don't have to prove anything to anybody, and you can just let that confrontation go. Just let them walk off. The amount of times I've had people tell me like all the nasty shit they're going to do to me. Yeah. And it's like, okay, bro, like, that's fine. And then I've literally had people next to me. It's like, well, why'd you let him talk to you like that? And I was like, because it's words. Yeah. It's words. Like, this random drunk dude's opinions of his skill level and my skill level don't mean anything to me. What means something to me is going home, not in a prison cell or in hospital. Yeah. That should always be the default. And I think when you can't fight and you don't have skills, you've got to, what do they call it? You're overcompensating with anger and yelling and body language. It's almost like animals in the wild, the ones that can't defend themselves, like frill-neck lizards, right? Yeah. Big displays
How
of like...
cute and funny are they, though?
Exactly, and all these guys are cute and funny as well when they're getting upset. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a natural defense mechanism. And again, if you're angry and my response is to get angry with you, how do we get to a spot where neither of us are angry? Or it gets settled? You don't. So one of them has to choose. You're either escalating or you're de-escalating. There's no like keeping the middle ground. Yeah. If you're telling me fuck you, I'm gonna bash you, I'm either like, all right, let's give it a crack, or I'm like, no, we don't need to do this. There's no real in between. So the confidence from training, for sure, allows you to have conversations more than just balling your fists up and fucking throwing punches. Agreed. It's not the answer. Yeah. And you'll kill someone or you'll get hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the legal ramifications that come with that, and that can destroy your life. Like, you know,
Matt says it, bro. You got 3 fights. You got the initial one, the legal one, and then revenge attacks. Yeah. So if you, again, that door example, if someone comes to the bar and in the process of removing them, we have a fight and I beat them up. Yeah. They now know where you work, when you finish. Yep. You know what I mean? Like if they're slightly switched on, they just wait for you a couple of weeks later. Yeah. With 4 or 5 dudes, and then it's a fight you can't win.
Yep, and you've also potentially probably put other people in danger as well.
100%. So no one wins fights ever, particularly outside of combat sports. So the ability to just be calm and keep yourself out of them, bro, is invaluable. It's almost worth more than any of the jiu-jitsu.
Agreed.
Because you just don't have to do it anymore.
It's a nice feeling, hey.
I got in so many fights playing soccer before. I played soccer for 16 years before. Yep. And there's not a... Well, maybe footy is a worse demographic of false bravado and like where you stand in the world. Like soccer guys think they can fight for whatever reason. Footy guys think they can fight for whatever reason. Yeah. And you just get, I don't know, you just hang around that type of vibe and you kind of fall into it a little bit. And then I jumped out and I was like, holy fuck, like I was a retard, bro. Like this shit needed to stop. And it's just insecurity, especially in dudes. Yeah. When dudes feel inadequate in career or social circles or skills, they start acting weird, bro. Yeah. Big time. Like one of the most insecure places you can be in is a bar. Yeah. Because it's like a bunch of drunk dudes and the resources are money and women. Yeah. Essentially. Right? And what do all guys fight about? Yeah. Generally money or women or both. So yeah, the skills transcend way off of the map for sure. And what you're saying there, the ability to just be calm and have conversations and avoid fights because you know how to. Yeah. Kind of seems backwards. Yeah. You know, but
it's understanding how to de-escalate situations as well. I mean, when we're learning jiu-jitsu, I mean, for an outsider to look at jiu-jitsu, they're like, oh, you guys are just rolling around on the floor in spandex. Like, and it's like, well, no, there's actually a bit more than that. Yeah. You know, even I mean, I would say when you're learning good jiu-jitsu, you're learning obviously your judo, you're learning your wrestling, like and then you've obviously got your ground game. But outside of that as well, you're learning self-defense. Like we obviously do knife self-defense. Yep. Like obviously it's very tricky when someone's got a knife, but knowing basic self-defense skills against someone with a knife. You learn obviously again like the social cues of someone possibly arcing up. Like how are you going to approach that situation? Like before it even escalates, like when can you recognize it's about to escalate kind of thing? Yeah. Like knowing what's around you. Are there security cameras around you to protect you? Are there other people there as well? Like what do you need to watch out for? Are you getting backed up against a wall? Like a car? Like
you can't do all this if you're stressed and you've got the blinkers on.
You can't because you get tunnel vision.
We've all been there in a time where you've stressful situation and it's literally the blinkers. Yeah. Like you can't hear shit, you can't see shit. Yeah. it's great. It's a dangerous.
Your adrenaline's going
It's a
as
dangerous
well.
place to be, bro.
Yeah, you get that flight or fight response.
You see it in the city. You would have seen some terrible fights in Scotland, I would imagine. But
yeah,
you see some people get really fucked up. Like I've seen multiple people just stomping dudes.
The stomping, saw a lot of that. It's pretty full on.
Yeah, you don't want to end up on the ground.
Nah.
And like that's almost anti-jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, but you learn through your stand-up stuff.
Yeah.
All right, if I'm in the city and I'm fighting a dude, he's probably out with someone.
Yeah.
People don't generally travel in these places alone.
Yeah.
Do I want to be on bottom trying to throw up triangles?
Yeah. No.
Probably want to hit him with the planet with a takedown and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably what it's gonna more look like.
That's why it's important when you learn jiu-jitsu, if you're going to keep it up, you do need to learn all jiu-jitsu. Like, if you just stick with the one thing you're good at, yeah, you know, it might be good in your competitions and stuff, but for a real life situation, like...
It's scary. Like you said, how the world is now, bro. Look at all the home invasions and all the women that have been murdered in Australia in the last fucking 6 months, bro. Like, it's... Knife crime is getting wild too,
it's good to know something. Like,
and again, that... Not feeling like a victim, so you're not skittish.
Yeah.
You're not like constantly, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
You're a little calmer, and people can tell when you're calm and when you're freaking out.
Yeah.
And people, they gravitate to calm people, and they're like, get the fuck away from you. From the people that look
can
like
definitely
they're
change
on
the
edge.
situation.
For sure. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It was it's been good chatting, bro. We've gone for an hour and 20.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So obviously, I'll include some of your links to your social media and stuff.
Yeah, no stress.
In the comments, just so people can follow you, potentially contact you for any strength and conditioning stuff that could be going on in the future, and they can just keep up with what you're doing. It's been a good chat, man. Like, we spoke about a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, ADHD helping me cover a lot of situations.
If all of the guests could have ADHD, bro, I would love that.
Yeah.
Just because, it was a good chat, bro. And
yeah, appreciate it.
covered a bunch of different topics, but they're all relevant to the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And, people got to know you a little bit better. They would have seen you online. It's particularly people involved with sea flow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They would have seen your clips of you flying through the air in colourful.
Oh, I do love
gear.
my continuous flow colourful gear. I'm generally the one probably of the team members who's wearing like the most colourful gear.
You're always in the most colourful gear, bro. It's the best. You're always repping the gear. So Nathan's always appreciative of that, and the brand is.
He's a good dude. The brand's always been great as well. I do miss being a purple belt, I have to admit, because all the purple like gear is amazing, and then you hit brown, you're just like, why did they have to make it brown?
You always people like, at purple belt who want their brown belt, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know.
But seriously, he's right. The colour is purple's superior.
Purple's a cool colour.
Purple's superior. Thanks again,
Awesome.
Andy.
Thank you, brother.
No.